Life, it's a gift from the universe. We know not of its origins nor its purpose, yet we all live each day like it's our last. But much like any gift, we take it for granted, never appreciating its true value. That is how the people of this world view their gift, breaking it down bit by bit until they reached the apex of damnation. This world, once a shining beacon, was now a decrepit archive of what was soon to be the once was, rather than what is. The lakes ran black with poison and toxic sludge. The landscape was a shadow of its former self. Trees had lost their leaves of colour, were now naked and withered. As for the sky itself, it whirled in a never-ending storm of black clouds and raging storms. Yet, in a rather ironic twist, a decadent beauty sat amidst the cesspit. A large-scale metropolis with beaming towers that pierced the sky, constructed of the finest raw materials that could be gouged from the planet. This mighty splendour was known as the Citadel, that within lay the last chance of hope for this world. Contracted by the government, an intelligent group of people were founded to find a solution to start reversing the seemingly irreversible damage that had been done to the planet. Using technology to find a causal root, they found something that lay within the sky. When staring high, to the naked eye all that could be seen was a thick black blanket that covered the heaven's stars above. Presumed to have been clouds, no one ever thought to search deeper inside. However, when analysing the clouds closer, what was found caused imminent concern. They discovered a form of bacteria that had evolved into a leech-feeding parasite. These creatures of unknown origin made the sky their home. The reason for this was due to the fact they could not breathe the air outside of the clouds, or they would die. However, many thousands had ventured out, and as any parasite knows how to survive, they made their way inside the airway passages of the people down below, and would proceed to feed from their brainwaves of positive emotions, leaving the host a husk of negativity and an aura of darkness. Not knowing where these creatures had come from, they had no way of knowing any weakness to exploit against the parasites. Many plotted absurd ideas that were either impossible or funding could not be granted. More days went by as hope faded with each passing hour. However, if hope could not be founded, then a glimmer of intrigue could. Below the main tower of the Citadel is where the scientists operated, working day and night to find a solution against the growing calamity. The scientists had discovered something that was again unknown in origin, but was yielding positive results in testing. Years ago, when the ancient colonizers had arrived at this planet, they had built their home atop the ruins of an old battleground. Assuming whoever created these structures were long dead, they made their settlement here and remained to the present day. But to the more important matters, the catacombs of laboratories all converged on one central room, held up by 4 large pillars as scientific equipment, scanners, lights, sample analyzers all littered the ground around them. As for what they need this equipment for, lay in the center of the room, a stone altar with emblems and ancient text carved within the sides. The majority of these writings were unintelligible, written in a language they did not understand. Rather strangely, however, there were writings upon the stone that read like instructions that were made exactly for the scientists and their predicament. Words reading, salvation, your future rests in here, and I am your only hope." Atop the altar lay a stained and withered glass capsule. Inside was a captivating arcane magic that danced and revolved inside its glass prison. Many had tried to understand exactly what it was, and while many tests and experiments showed its properties, none could understand its nature. Desperate for any chance of resolve, the scientists conducted experiments on infected civilians whose parasites had them on the verge of death. Exposing them to the magic found that their mind would burn, and eyes glowed a burning orange glow as the patient would exhale a thick black smog that would dissipate when exposed to the open air. Afterward, the patient would collapse in a weakened state. A moment of euphoria flooded through the room as each scientist knew they had found the solution they had been desperately searching for. All that was left now was to enact action. But before that, they must hypothesize on more theories on how to spread this arcane miracle. They first thought to distribute it in the form of a cure. However, the essence was too small in its amount to spread across the city. Then there was the idea of replicating the essence, but this task was too difficult to conduct, as it would take technologies unfathomable and years to begin breaking down its inner workings. Turning back to the drawing board again, they pondered on how to get this magic into direct contact with the sky. With this, not only could they solve the magic shortage problem, but it would also ensure it spread around the world, as theory figured that contact should ignite a chain reaction across the sky, if the experiments with the various parasites were anything to go by. Days of tireless work came and went, but with each passing day, the hour of prosperity would soon be at hand. In the end, the time of success had come. After months of hard, sometimes unforgiving work went by, the fruits of their labor were finally ready. The construction of a special propulsion system in the form of a singular, large cannon-like weapon. As for its intended purpose, they had hypothesized a scenario in which the propulsion weapon would shoot the magic high into the atmosphere, in a type of shell which would explode once it reached a certain point in the atmosphere. And as they theorized before, that would ignite the atmosphere, burn away the parasite infestation, and save the planet. But while theories are all well and good, the real result would come in practice. In a desolate field, far away from the citadel and its inhabitants, they had erected a site for the propulsion weapon, with workers in protective gear and tinted goggles to protect them against any fallout or failure in the system. After all, these people were tampering with forces beyond their knowledge. Anything could happen, no matter how much testing they had done. As when the scientists arrived, they walked toward the weapon, as one of them inserted a special shell inside its designated spot and closed the port. "Clear the area, all personnel behind the yellow line," one of the scientists demanded, as everyone on site moved away like a horde of animals being shifted by the farmer. As the scientist entered the final code, they then retreated to the safe area, as silence flooded like moth to a flame. Distant sounds of the machine could be heard. Lights flickered as the machine came to life. Seconds like eons went by as everyone watched with knots in their stomachs. And then it happened. A bright flash of white light appeared and then disappeared in a matter of seconds, as a bang reverberated and pierced everyone's ears. A long faint white line followed the device as the shell soared at high speeds faster than sound, charging straight toward the sky as it would soon be swallowed by the abyss above. Then, after more antagonizing seconds, two strange shapes began falling from the sky as they impacted the ground below and embedded themselves in the dirt. As one of the hazmat-protected personnel approached one of the objects, they picked it up from the ground and started to analyze it. "Hey, it's one of the shell pieces." As they started speaking, they were immediately cut off as a bright orange flash filled the sky and crawled its way across the entire atmosphere, burning the thick clouds as it did. The people in the citadel ran rampant with panic, as for all they knew, the entire sky had lit on fire with no explanation. Had the gods turned their back on them, leaving them to rot in eternal damnation? Or, as many did wonder, were there any gods in the first place? However, alongside the chaos, many of the civilians had their minds burned from within as the parasite became intoxicated and absorbed by the purifying air. Nevertheless, after minutes of these scenes of hell, the fire began to retreat to its point of origin as it all culminated together and in the blink of an eye disappeared into the void beyond the sky, never to be seen again. Silence returned once more, as everyone, both in and outside the citadel, looked on at the sky. A bright blue azure lay like a soft blanket across the whole world, wrapping it in its calming embrace as the sun had graced the land for the first time in what felt like centuries. As for the scientists, songs and cheers of praise were sung of their triumph, as they were heralded as saviors in the end of days. As for their reward, the government gave them a substantial funding to establish themselves and lay the grounds to start building an empire of prosperity. An empire that would carve its family name deep within its roots: Malachi.